again, years ago, when I was guiding, I fished a lot of our lakes like North. I did a lot of bass guiding where the other guys predominantly fished for walleye, which were the money fish. So if somebody would come in, particularly out of the Missouri area, which traveled up here, and they want a bass guide, I'd get the business. And at that point, you always had it. It was easy to go get limits of bass. That wasn't the problem. Yeah, it was legitimately, and I can go back and I look at those old photos now out of catches out of Wilson Bay and North Long and Bay Lake, some of our better close by bass lakes. You look at loads of fish. It was hard to see a 4-pounder in those bags of fish. You had a lot of fish that were 1 3/4 to about 3 pounds. Those are the money fish. You'd have easy limits of fish, but true scale floors. Yeah, and your mind kind of over time plays tricks on you, but look at those fish. We got more 4-pounders available today than we ever had. And it is only catch and release. I really, that's a part and parcel of the habitat, improvement, of the way we're managing the resources. A lot of things, have impacted the fishery that makes it what it is. We've got a little challenge on some of our panfish lakes. There's no question about that. Our pikefish will need some help. But the other main species, it's phenomenal. Yeah, I'm going to take a minute to talk a little bit about, I'm going to touch a little bit on walleye, and because I'm filling in for Steve Quinn, I've got to say something about bass. And if I want to, the last 3 years, I know this is going to sound really weird to a lot of people. The last 3 years, I have hardly ever used any live bait in any walleye fishing. Almost never. Everything I've done has been what I refer to as the super baits. And they're super baits, there's about 5-6 of them on the market today. These highly impregnated, biodegradable baits. The two most popular are Trigger X and Gulp. Those are the two most that you see in distribution. There's about 4 other manufacturers, but they have the best quality, color, makeup of everything. And I really got fascinated with these baits some years ago to see how they fish against live baits. So I just made a conscious decision, fishing in a lot of boats with a lot of really good fish, and fishing against them in a lot of situations. I just wanted to see when, where, how, and why. How productive can it be? Yeah, and it just astounded me, and it astounded many of the anglers. And I've been in a boat with some awful good walleye fishermen. And when they got out of the boat at the end of the day, the answer was why. But you had to fish the stuff different, and that's some of the stuff that I learned. And this stuff truly does. And I'm going to put a little emphasis on walleye. If you take this stuff and you fish it the same way you're going to fish a jig and a minnow, you're not going to have the same results. If you fish it very slow, like you have to fish the rule of thumb with live bait, fish the lightest jig you can get away with. That is not the case when you're throwing these super baits. Because the thing that triggers the fish is it's the erratic action. You got to snap the bait, you got to move it. There's a triggering effect that works on this bait. It isn't that slow drop rise that you have if you got a leech or a piece of crawler on the back of a minnow. You have to snap that bait. You got to really make it snap. And it doesn't work so good if it's going like this. We want it to go like this. Flat-headed aspirin type heads that make the bait go like this when you snap it. So you get this. I'm using that as an example on the jig. And you're snapping really fast. You fish circles, and I've done it on every single lake in our area. There is no exceptions. And no exceptions. And well, not always, but almost always, I'll outfish you with live bait. I will outfish you in a boat. Not all the time, but a big portion of the time. More than most people realize. More than most walleye anglers realize. And it's that productive. Same thing if you're fishing slow, pulling, let's say a Lindy rig, and you're a Lindy rig crawler fisherman, or a Lindy rig redtail fisherman, which in this area everybody is. or a leech. Okay, if you're moving real slow with the bait and you're vertical fishing and you're out in a mud flats and you come over 30 foot of water and you got 4 or 5 hooks there, then you just hover over with the bait and your reach work on there on a 6 foot, 7 foot snell. You can't do that with an artificial. Obviously it isn't alive, it isn't going to work the same. Now, if you take that same school of fish and you come through with a bottom bouncer or a freeway where you're moving really fast, you'd be surprised at how many of those fish you catch out of that same school. You can't fish them the same. You can't fish it the same to see the same results. Everything has to be done faster and a little more erratic. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. The whole thing. Faster and more erratic. But the stuff truly, truly does work. And to me, it was a real learning experience. Even sitting vertical jigging in flow against guys with red-tail chubs, sitting on the fish, snap jigging vertical in 30 or 40 feet of water. Again, you jack the weight of the jig up. You have to go heavier. Your bait's got to react. It's got to react fast. It can't come up real slow and drop like it does with live bait. The reaction of the fish, the triggering effect is completely different. That's the key to the success of this kind of stuff. But as we see more and more restrictions, like we're seeing regulations, if in the middle of the afternoon you got 3 hours on Gull Lake and you decide you're going to run over to North Lawn for a little while, you got to kill your bait. You can't move the bait in the water out of the bucket. And we're seeing more and more of this happen. State regulations crossing with bait. So there's some impact. Is it the cure-all? No. Will it outfish live bait? A lot more times than a lot of people think it will. But it's not going to replace it. No, it isn't. But it's something you can have in your boat all the time. It is way, way, way more effective than most walleye fishermen have realized until you learn how to fish. It works on the spinners, it works on split shot, it works in a variety of different ways. Split shot works great with it. So I can't, I've had an amazingly successful time in a lot of bodies of water with it. It's been kind of fun to experiment, try something a little bit different, and see the overall results.